Welcome back to Let's Talk Tuesday. This is the podcast where we have real conversations about learning, leadership, and what it truly takes to help people and organizations grow. Each week, we bring together different perspectives, experiences, and voices to explore what learning development really means, why it matters, and how we can do it better. Today, we have a very special guest, Ximena Moreno from Mexico City, who has over 20 years of experience in leadership, consulting, and entrepreneurship. Welcome.
Hi, Amanda. I'm very grateful to be here.
I'm so excited to talk with you. Tell us a bit about your background and what your focus is today.
Okay, so just to talk a little bit about my background, I started as electronic systems engineering, but I never actually applied that. Right out of college, I joined Procter and Gamble, where I worked in a variety of roles from business analytics, digital marketing, and at the end, I worked in the commercial side, both in the systems for customers as well as in sales directly. From there, I found my real passion and I joined a startup that was dedicated to bringing technology to the sales process. So I started there. I grew through the startup and worked with several large customers such as Grupo Bimbo and Mars, also Danone and other customers. And from there, I started specializing. Like all my career has been in consumer packaged goods, but I started specializing in this digital transformation of the sales processes. So 2 years back, I decided to in the go independent and I started a consulting firm, which I am currently operating. I have one large customer, but I'm looking into expanding by improving my offer and making it much more adaptable to other customers.
Wow, there's so much there. And the fact that you've been in so many different roles and kind of the trajectory of your career, it's going to be really fun to dive in to see not just in the industry you're in, but in the different cultures that you've been in. What what does learning and development mean in your world?
Wow. Okay. So learning development is, I see two sides of this. One is how I have been able to adapt and grow myself to be up for the challenge and learn to work with other cultures, as you said, learn to work with other companies, which in a sense is new cultures, but we're talking about geographic cultures as well as company cultures, learning new processes and ways to transform them, as well as keeping up with technology. That's one part of it. But the other is, per se, to do my work, I need to transform others through learning and development. We need to meet them where they are, which is so important,
Hmm.
and then bring them to the new process, to the new tool, to the new whatever is expected from this transformation. And planning that has an intrinsic human portion, as well as the technical and change management techniques, etc. But we cannot forget about the human portion of
Yeah.
it.
And I always say it has to be people first. And it seems so obvious, but it's amazing how companies just think, let's flip on the switch, let's do this new tech and just go do it. And it's not the case, right? We talk about that a lot. Why is learning and
Absolutely.
development so important, especially in today's world? Because you've had 20 years of variation. Why now?
Okay, so the world has been changing since its start, but we all know the change has accelerated and will continue to accelerate moving forward.
Hmm.
Uh, what I learned at school, it's nowhere useful today. What is useful is the tools and skills that I learned from there. So if I have something that I have learned through my academic preparation as well as my professional experience is that you need to be open learn to
Hmm.
learn the new AI, the new process, the new manager that you have, the new customer that you need to deal with. Everything is learning, same as everything is changing, right?
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so funny because I talk about this too, is when you go to university, and even I feel like even when I was in university, I knew that the topics that I was learning at the time were not really, you don't go, I always used to joke, you don't go to college to learn. You go to college to learn how to build relationships. You go to college to learn how to learn. You go to college to be how in a different environment and to be different with types of people and to experience this change. And so that's why I always encouraged people even from when I was very young, when people would stay home for college, and that's smart. There's economics involved in that. It's very smart, but I would say that they're missing out. They're missing out a huge component of living in a different place with different types of people in a different environment and how they learn what they learn about themselves and how they manage themselves. I think is one of the key things that they miss out on when they're in that environment of still going home to the same home. I mean, there's still going to be benefits, don't get me wrong. And again, there's a very smart reason to do it that way. But I would say that was kind of always my view, even going in, even when I was so young, going into university, I always was like, no, the real purpose of university is to make
Oh no, you're
relationships,
right.
learn how to learn, and be in new environments. What do you wish companies
Absolutely.
knew, especially as a consultant? What do you wish companies knew or did differently as it relates to learning and development?
Okay, so this is a loaded question.
A little bit. As consultants, this is loaded for us.
Yeah, I think that so many companies have incorporated on their values, on their premises in general, the learning and development part. However, it's so often seen like an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have already done this. Now, how we communicate this and how we make people do that. Instead of being something intrinsic, where you start from what is going to change, what are you training people on, what do we need them to learn? And it's not only skills, sometimes it's behaviors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And clearly understanding this will facilitate change. What we see more often than not, even in technology companies, is that you want to change the culture, you want to change the system, and initiatives break because you never thought of this until you have completed the change.
Yeah, it's so true. And we talk a lot about this, about having training needs a seat at the table at the beginning. And I talk about this a lot, even when I was asked to talk about change management, which I do have to be effective in consulting, in project management. You have to be a change management because that's you're a change agent, is what you are.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
so often people would bring me into the process at like level like stage three, stage four,
mhm, mhm,
and it's like, do you know how much more efficiency can be baked in from the beginning if at the beginning there was that people first consideration, that there was this,
mhm,
okay, at the end of this, somebody's going to have to do something differently. So, what
mhm,
can we do? How do we front load this? And how do we design it in a way that is going to make it easier for that to happen? And that, to your point, initiative to stick, because we know how crazy the percentages of failure rates are for a new
mhm,
initiative, a new product, a new, technology. And so I think that for me, I'm leading here, but the organizations, I always want to be brought in sooner and again, training needs a seat at the table sooner to be able to have that. And one of the things I always try to remind people of is, do you have the right people in the room while you're making these decisions? Like, are you thinking
mhm,
about
mhm.
not just the leaders, but are you thinking about the people that this is going to impact the most at the beginning?
So, yes, yes. So often we just lead a transformation and the operator comes and says like, but I never did this process before. Then why did we replicate it? Why did we adopt it? I don't know. And we wasted so many dollars in
Yep.
doing something that was not
Time and
useful, right?
energy.
Absolutely.
And it's so true. And sometimes if you don't consult the right people, you're not thinking about something. Like the leader might have an idea of obviously what their I hope what their team is working on, but they don't know that if you do this, then X is going to happen and this is going to break and that's going to. So if you don't have that full picture, I think that's why so many initiatives fail. We're doers, you and I both, but
Mhm.
also we are listening, the people listening are doers and action oriented. So tell us one actionable tip that people can apply to their world right now to make their tomorrow to better.
Oh, okay. Uh, I could say the most common thing lately, which is learn AI. But I
Mm,
would say, yes, learn AI, but learn it not for the tools. It's so important, and this applies to anything, you know. This applies to working with people or working with AI. Whatever you provide, garbage in, garbage out. So
mhm.
if you learn to properly provide the input to whatever you are attempting to do, then you will get much better results. So I think that that will be a very actionable element. Use everything that you're learning through working AI, prompting your way through the world, but take it to your other areas.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and I can say I am the first at fail at this, you just ask someone to do something like send this invite or prepare this document. And we have learned with AI that if you just give a one sentence instruction, the result will not be what you're expecting. So the same time and investment that you're taking now to properly prompt, do it with people.
It's so important. It's so true. I can't tell you how often people have to be reminded that like people are not mind readers and they're like, but they didn't. It's like, did you have the conversation with them about it? Well, no. Okay. Did you set expectation? Well, no, but they should know. Should? What does should mean? How should they have known that, right? And it's so context matters. And on the other end of the spectrum too, right? So I have people who I work with who they want to talk for 30 minutes straight, like a monologue for 30 minutes. And I'm like, is this too much? This is lost in weeds detail. Whoa, what are we talking about here, right? So it's
Mhm,
that
mhm.
right amount. It's the right amount of context.
True.
It's the right amount of information. It's the right amount of support, not just for AI, but I love that. I love that idea. I haven't heard anyone say that before, but it's so true. It's you're learning that the way you ask questions is maybe not as thoughtful as you previously thought, right? It's like
True.
AI kind of holds us to that because it's very like by the book of like, well, these were the words that were input, and that's what you're gonna
Hmm.
get out. So I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was such a fun conversation. I know people are gonna get so much value from it. I appreciate you. I'm gonna try to leverage your tip myself, and thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here with you.
And with that, we'll begin to wrap up. So I hope this discussion gave our audience a few new perspectives, sparked some ideas, and left you with at least one takeaway you can put into action immediately. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and join us every Tuesday as we continue exploring learning, leadership, and what it takes to help people and organizations grow. And if today's conversation resonated with you, or if you'd like to join me for a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and let's talk again on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.